Good afternoon, everybody, and this is Ekta Sehgal Malhotra from the Motherhood Club Talk Show. Today, as promised, we are back with yet another very, very unique and interesting mother. She is a wellness coach, a fitness coach, of course, a mother, a researcher, a change enabler, positivity enabler, and a lot more to her credit. She is trained as a yoga teacher, as a fitness coach, and works under the banner Lifestyle Wellness Solution. She also works with patients who suffer from cancer or who are in remission. She believes that there are ways and means to give back to the society, and very, very extensively, she works towards it. She also works to make sure that children in our country are not fat, as obesity has become very common in young children to see. She is Leena Prakash. Leena, a very, very warm welcome to the Motherhood Club Talk Show. And it's indeed a privilege to have you here, and you look absolutely lovely.
Good afternoon, Ekta. I am always excited to be around people like you who are doing something so different. So, thank you so much for having me here. And I would like to extend a warm welcome to all those who are going to be online or watching this video later on.
Super.
And thank you for that long introduction because I think a mother generally encompasses so many different roles that we play. So I
Absolutely.
guess just saying mother is kind of enough for me because that is one role I have thoroughly enjoyed.
Right. So, Lena has chosen a topic yet again where many people do not have the acceptance towards it or would not want to talk about it. The topic that Lena has chosen is that failure is an attitude and not an outcome. A lot of us fail, but we do not accept that we have failed. And we do not even realize that failure is so important as that becomes the stepping stone towards success. Because very simply, failure is nothing but the opposite of success. When we taste success, we feel happy, but we do learn a lot from our success and we talk about it. But there are very few people, at least I know of, who are more than happy to come and share about the failures that they have. And I am one person who believes very strongly that if we talk about our failures, there is more motivation that we can provide than just talking about a success. So, Lena, we'd like to know a little more about you, what you do, and more so how your journey of motherhood was, because you have a grown-up son who's 29, who's a chartered accountant. And as I've understood from the conversation that we've had, that even today, whether it is him or your sister's children, they look up to you for guidance, and many other children, because you are also coaching children and teenagers and even parents. So, and more so, why did you choose this topic, which is failure is an attitude and not an outcome? So over to you, Lena.
So, Ekta, thank you so much for speaking so much about me. My son is a video producer, he's a journalist, and he has actually studied in Northwestern University in the prestigious Middle School, and he works on videos and works on projects that actually highlight the plight of the minorities, and not a topic that is very palatable right now, the way things are in our society. And but I am so proud of him, Ikta, for picking his own unique path. And to me, failure is nothing but a means to achieve whatever you want in life, because it is failure that decides what you will risk in life. It is also failure that decides how quickly you are able to get up, what is the resilience level that you have within you, and how quickly are you able to get up and make a second move and a third and a fourth. So my journey actually began with motherhood, not like other people. It was something I was very excited about. In fact, as a child, I would joke that I'm going to have a whole cricket team, And for somebody like me to just have one kid, I think for my friends also it was a surprise. But having said that, the journey through motherhood for me was a little difficult because of problems that I've had with my health. And that part of the journey that started out my motherhood was just the fact that I wanted to be a mom. And I wanted very much to be a mom. And 29 years back, there wasn't much advice that you got from people in terms of how to pick up your health, what you can do, what are some of the things that are very prerequisite to having a baby. Um, but when Adi was born, Adi is my son. When Adi was born, I remember being so happy after the surgery and telling my doctor that I just had to see my baby first. Can I just see him for a moment before you put me to sleep? And it had been a very complicated surgery, and that's what the doctors told me later on. But I was awake at the end of the surgery just to be able to see my baby. So I think a mom is such a strong person, she is more than a woman. She is also a lot more than a superwoman, because she's able to think, she's able to feel, she's able to do so many things at the same time and still go about her daily work, all her other things that she wants to do, as an individual. So once Adi was born, my journey was so different. It was different in the sense that dealing with a colic baby was meant 24 hours of being with the child, moving around, doing stuff. And as he grew, I grew too, because I grew to understand that all this struggle was what mothers were made of. All this
Absolutely.
struggle was what motherhood was. And that was not something I understood when I delivered my baby. You see, the joy that I felt when I looked at that baby didn't tell me anything about the struggles that I would be going through. So, not having a handbook sometimes leads us to areas that we probably did not want to go in the first place. And I believe, Ekta, that as a society, we talk a lot about motherhood and we set certain norms. Children should be doing this around this stage, more that is goes beyond milestones. You see, when children are very small, milestones are okay, but once they grow to say 1.5, 2 years, those milestones really don't matter that much. Now, as a mom of a 29-year-old, I do understand that the anxiety that comes with those milestones, those are so big that at some point in time, you have to let them go. For instance, my son didn't walk till he was almost a year and 4 months. And he would talk a lot. And I never realized that it was because I was always lifting him up in my arms, not letting him, be there. The anxiety of a mother who's finally had her baby. And suddenly, one fine day, I just put him down in my friend's home, and I said, "He doesn't walk yet." And he walked across the room, and I've never forgotten that moment.
So sweet.
And that was something that stayed with me, that as a mom I thought protecting him was keeping him in my arms. And that was, I think, the first stage of learning for me, that I had failed as a mom to let him experience all that he should in that first 1.5 years of his life. And that hit me really hard. So from that day on, I was a different mother, someone who wanted to, who was very fearful, but still wanted to risk a lot so that my child could experience those things. So, so
Yeah,
that's
in
the
fact,
story of how the journey started.
in fact, as mothers, and especially, it's been seen that with your firstborn, you're always overcautious. You're a very protective mother, and in that entire, being so protective about the child, as you rightly said, that one forgets that the child also needs to be closer to the mother earth. It needs to be grounded, needs to be, the immunity system has to be built. And
Yes.
a similar thing happened with my own mother also. When she had my brother, overly protective, he'll get dirty. With the result, keeping him more clean and tidy, he used to end up, getting cold cough more often. And when I was born, 4 year hence, she just let me be, do whatever. And same thing I experienced, when I had Vanya. We as parents, I feel, teach a lot of things to our children, knowingly or unknowingly. So whenever, we would give her food, we would have a hanky, we'd immediately clean her hands and face. But it reached a point that at about 1.5, she was not willing to dirty her hands,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and because she was a winter baby, so by that time, when she started to walk, and we didn't really let her be in the mud or anything. But the moment summers came and she was about a year and a half, and she was doing painting one day and she was being very meticulous about it, I just took her hands and I put them all in the paint. And
Wow.
I started taking her out to play in the mud. I said, go dirty your hands,
Yeah.
otherwise she will never know that this is also something that you can do. Or she doesn't always have to be very prim and proper. So after that incident, that you let your son walk, and you realize that you were kind of in that whole protectiveness, you were trying to curb his growth, or the milestones were getting pushed back, which actually he was achieving. So
Right.
how did it change your the rest of the years of nurturing him and taking care of him?
Oh, Ekta, we lived in a colony just like similar to the one I'm living in right now. And there were people there who had older kids. In fact, they were really very older, very much older. But the servant quarters all had little children. Every servant quarter had little children, and my son was friends with all of them. So that's where his friendships began. And we kind of we would have all these children come over, and we would have little picnics planned in the garden, or little parties planned for kids would stay in my home overnight. They would play, and I used to have parents often tell me that my kid is going to get infected or something's going to happen. But by then I had learned my first lesson, not to keep him from interacting with whatever it was, whether it was company or it was experimenting with new things. So though I was still very cautious. So I would make sure that things were very hygienically done, and the reason I would have these kids over home was also because I could monitor that in my home, as opposed to if he went somewhere. But then as he grew up, I found that the level of empathy with which he interacted was so deep. Just mixing with people who were less fortunate, mixing with people who really didn't see very much, that gave him a different perspective to life that I could have never done it if I had kept him at home. And today, his work also takes him to people who are less privileged, and he makes friends out of them, and he's able to live with them many times, be with them for long periods of time, because making a video really takes a lot of time, and create very enduring relationships.
Fantastic. So that, imagine that one instance, or that one moment of experience that you had just changed everything so beautifully,
It
you
did,
know,
Ekta. It
for
did.
you, for
It
you,
is so
for your
kind.
son. So, I'd like you to dwell a little more about, that failure is actually an attitude and not an outcome. So, if you could dwell a little more about it, one example or one real instance you shared
a little more in detail, you are yourself a coach, and you do speak to parents also, and yourself a mother also. So that's a perfect combination, to get more insight into this for a lot of parents to understand that it's okay to fail. We as parents also make mistakes. So if we are able to accept our mistakes, we should even accept the mistakes of our children, and how we can bounce back from there.
So my son always came home to learn, because while he was at school, it would be all fun and games, and he would enjoy the atmosphere like most kids do, I think, even these days. And he came home always with all his homework, and he would sit around me, and he would, I would be the teacher. So we ran a parallel class at home where all the work was done at home, the learning, the teaching, the homework, and that really left me with hardly any time. And every time that I would, when he came to class 3, I thought this was, taking away all my time. And I wanted to do something else, with it, with my time around that period. And so I remember very clearly telling him that he has to start studying on his own. And I would sit in the room and I would be doing some other reading, and I would say, okay, you have to study on your own. And he would finish in 10 minutes. He would be done. And I still recall my mother saying, you don't want to do this, he's not studying. And I said, it doesn't matter, let him study. And he used to stand first in class, okay, always, right from class 1, but I used to often tell him that it's not you, it's me who stands first in your class. So I got him to the exam. He finished the exam. He said he's done very well. And when the results came in, he was 13th in class. So I remember him coming back and saying, I think this is a mistake. I must have stood third in class. So I sat him down. He kept saying that. And, when my husband got back home, I shared this with him. And I said, now I'm going to, kind of break this bubble. So I sat him down and I said, what if you are 13th? He said, no, I'm too bright to be 13th. And he was all of 6-year-old, 6.5. So I said, no, you have this time you have done really badly because you studied on your own and you didn't do anything. He said, no. And I said, okay, now what's going to happen is this is the first term. So all terms are going to get affected because you've done so badly. So you're going to continue to stand, never stand first this year. And that was the day that, it just everything got on a reset button. Because then when I would give him something to study, he would sit down and finish. And he would say, I have to finish. And during exams, I had this habit of sending him out for an hour. I would say, everybody has to go out and play. There's no question of you sitting here. And he was sharing with me 2 days back. He said, Mom, you remember how you used to send me out? And he would be appalled. He'll say, how can I go out? It's exam. None of my friends go out. Don't you think you're doing the wrong thing? And I would say, no, I need you to go out. I need you to get fresh and come back because I can't handle you here and I have a lot of work I need to finish. So he would go out, he would play, come back, and he would finish his work. And that continued till, he never had a tuition. He never had any coaching. There's nothing that he required other than his own books and his space to study. Wonderful. So I think failing is a very, very important aspect. And the earlier it happens for your children, don't protect them. The earlier it happens for them, they get a chance to explore a unique way to succeed. Their own unique way to succeed. So they find their formulas, they do it, they're very bright, they understand.
Yes, absolutely.
So this was one
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So this was one. The other one was when, I would prepare him for elocution. Every time I would prepare him for elocution, and the first few times, there were very funny incidents that would happen. He would go up on stage. The very first time he went up on stage, he went up to the mic and he said, "Mera naam Aditya Prakash hai aur main kuch bhi nahi bolne wala hu." And he walked down. So everyone was shocked. They were like, what's going on? And just like you do, I used to try to put him through competitions, tell him, okay, you participate in this, it's good for you. But I just want to share with you what happens when a child doesn't make his own decision. And the decision comes from us. So there was this one time he had gone to a drawing competition, and I asked the teacher, what did he make? I wasn't so keen on him winning a prize. I just wanted to see what he made. So the topic was a fish aquarium. And there was this tiny dot in the corner of the page that he had drawn. So I asked him, I said, what is that? He said, मुझे उतना बड़ा ही aquarium बनाना था. So it took me a while to understand, what the problem was. You see, Ekta, children always want to win and want to succeed and want to respond well. They're like puppies. They want to please you. The problem is that the kind of techniques that we use to draw their skills most times is what we know and may not be right for them. So then I found this book, this book that spoke of, I was just trying to look for that book today so I could share it with you. I will just read out the name, and I think if there are parents watching, they should definitely look at this, and you for sure. It says How to Maximize Your Child's Learning Ability by Dr. I think it's Dr. Lauren Broadway and Barbara Albers Hill. I will send you this,
Sure.
and you should take a look, because there are 3 types of skills that children have, and all children fall under these categories: the looker skills, the listener skills, and the mover skills. So what happens when you look at a child who is a looker, listener, and you give them mover skills? You tell them, go into a crowd, meet the audience, interact. You actually destroy their self-esteem, because they stand there and we don't understand the kinesthetically how they are, the feelings inside that child is a whole spate of feelings. So if you sat and you spoke to your child, mine would sit with me and tell me why he didn't do it. He would sit with me and he would say, but as a mom who didn't understand, I always thought it's because he's shy. He doesn't want to open up. He's not like other children, and somewhere we try to make our unique child like everybody else. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
We destroy what is unique, and we say bagal wala ye kar raha, agal wala ye kar raha, someone in front is doing this, and we try to put them in a box.
Right, absolutely.
So after I had this, couple of chats with him and then read this book, I realized that my son was a looker listener child who picked up a lot from the environment. He had values that I'd never taught him. He had reading skills that were far beyond his age. He would explain to me things that I should do in a particular way, which was very adult and very wise. If someone scolded me, those days as a young mom, I had my in-laws would come or somebody would come and I would get a reprimand for something. And then he would say, you should tell them why this happened. Don't you think that you need to tell them why this happened? And coming from a 5 or 6 year old kid, you just brush it away. You don't look at it. And I learned to gently process that information, and over a period of time realize that they come to you with a lot of wisdom. They come to you with so much knowledge. And the task for us is not to give them knowledge, but to help them use that. And it changed me completely as a mother.
Beautifully
So
said.
every failure that is it,
Yes, no, totally
I
resonate with what you're saying, Lina, because and while you are defining the looker, listener, or the mover, and I can so relate to it because that was one of the challenges that we were also facing with Vanya. Though of course, she's very small right now, but every time she would tell me that yes, I will do it, but she would go in front, like be it in her class or otherwise, and she would chicken out. And initially, obviously, one would feel, "Arey, age group of this children do it, and she knows the stuff, but yet she wouldn't." But then I realized that, I should not push her to do it.
right.
So, I chatted up with the teacher also, and both of us agreed that, okay, we will give her space and time, and we will let her decide, what is it that she wants to do. And
Yeah.
so at least, in the class environment, and more so now, given that these are online classes, and, one is able to see what she does. So there are areas where she's very good. There are areas, which is work in progress, and there are areas where, like she has stranger anxiety. So in some way or the other, I've accepted it. Okay, that there is something that she doesn't like to mingle around with everybody. She makes her own, pace. She'll take her own way and time, and ways to get gelled up with people, because the ones who she is comfortable with, or where she
Yeah.
wishes to be comfortable, she's very comfortable. She's extremely friendly, and generally she's a very happy-go-lucky child that way. She's not those who's whining and cribbing otherwise. And
Right.
so I've just let her. I've accepted. So the way you are saying that, uh, the acceptance that, okay, that the child is like this, let's just accept it. Because
Yeah.
I also feel that, with a lot of parents, with a lot of us, we because we feel that they are an extension of us, which is not the right way to think of. We feel that they will have some of the other traits that we have, and that
Yeah.
comparison, forget about comparing them with the other children. The comparison starts happening with yourself only.
Very
Like,
true.
I as a mother is this, so my child should also be very, like, if I am an extrovert, she should also be an extrovert. But then she has her own traits and she's unique. So yeah, I
Very true.
totally agree with what you're saying. Absolutely.
Yeah, the idea is to encourage them. The idea is to be gentle, but while you encourage them, coax them, speak to them, and that's why it's called building a rapport. So build that rapport, and it can happen over a period of time, because when my son reached class 6, he would participate in all activities. And I remember his teacher saying, I don't have to go there to see who is acting. He has such a perfect diction, I can hear it over the mic. And Ekta, for me, that was a miracle, because only I knew where I started the journey with my little one, you know. And we were in Rome for a few years, and they have this yearly elocution competition that has never been won by an Indian student, because it's an American school, and they have the American accent, and they have to elocute the American way. And I remember we sat through he wanted to participate. And for me, that was a big thing, Ekta. I never bothered about whether, he was going to make it to any place, but I was like, okay, you want to participate? Let's work on this. And he went up on stage, I remember, and he delivered, and I was howling at the back of the row. I was just sitting there and I was crying, because it was so beautifully done for a child who was so scared and never getting up on stage. And you don't know my joy when the principal went up and said the award goes to Aditya Prakash. Both of us were shocked. We were just looking. We were like, is this really happening for him? And there was no stopping him after that, Ekta. But it took time. It took a lot of time, and it took a lot of effort on his part to understand the mover aspect of personality and to accept it as a part of himself.
allow me to share an experience. This was Vanya's first annual function in the play school, and they were made to practice in their school. And every day we would meet the teacher, and she would tell me, Vanya is not doing the steps. So I said at home, I am making her practice. So she practices very well. In fact, she sometimes corrects me, Mummy, aise nahi hai. This is how it is to be done. So anyhow, so the day of the performance came, and like me, all the other parents were anxious because it was pretty much a record that these
Yeah,
kids, especially the playgroup children, they don't do anything. They just go and stand on the stage, but that's also good enough. But
correct.
to our surprise, when they started, parents, both of us were very anxious and we had our jaws open. We couldn't believe that our kids were the ones who just from the word go started to perform. And both of us had those tears of happiness rolling down that these are our children, they're doing so well. And the teacher and we exchanged a glance and we were like all totally surprised. So with her I have realized that there is a big element of surprise. And as we were discussing also that regarding the interview that she was there, while there were questions where the answers were known, and it was very evident that she was looking towards me, that okay, what should I say, or like, am I saying the right thing, that validation from the mother. But when she started to dance, there were no steps rehearsed. And twice I had to ask her, like, should I stop the music? And she was like, no, let it go, I want to do it more. So it was totally a surprise. So I think from the conversation that we've had earlier and today also, it totally resonates with me that we as parents need to let the child be, let them evolve naturally, guide them, and let them explore their that niche that they have, or that uniqueness that they have, rather than just saying ki nahi aap sab kuch karo.
Absolutely.
So like with her also, we tell her that okay, winning is not important. What is important is that you participate, you do it. And I also feel that when they don't, we as parents become impatient,
I know.
because we start feeling that it is our failure that our child is not doing it, and we then start forcing the child, with the result, the impact that the child has. And I'm not saying this because I'm hearing it from you or I've read it somewhere, but I've experienced it firsthand in this short span of 4 years, that there were things that I did wrong, as where I would feel, no, 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 it's my daughter, she should do this. But then I realized she's different, and she has her own ways of achieving her milestones, her own ways of doing things. She has a mind of her own. And as you said, that your son was doing very well when it came to reading. So there are so many things that she does, but there are certain things she doesn't want to. So I also then say that okay, let me speak to her. आप क्यों नहीं करना चाहते हो? What is it that bothers you? And then once she does it, then we again ask her कि भाई अच्छा आपने किया, आपको कैसा लगा? Were your emotions any different than how you thought it would be? So she's also now evolving, so are we. So absolutely wonderful examples and inputs that you've given from your own personal life. And at least it definitely resonates with me, and I'm sure it does with a lot of other parents. There are good comments coming that everybody's enjoying this conversation. So uh, you know uh, so now that he's a grown up, and he's on his own, he's figuring out his own life, his own future. So has there ever been a situation where he felt that he has failed in something, and he reached out to you that mom, I failed here, what should I do? So if such a situation happened, how did you respond to him? What was your guidance to him?
Okay, Ekta, I'm going to share something. I'm not sure whether he's going to be happy with this, but he was working for a very big agency, and he was their reporter. And I still remember that night when he called me up, and he was very upset. Things that happened, there had been altercations, there had been things going on for a while between him and the management, and they had wanted him to project news in a certain manner. And uh, my son is a value based individual, and grown up in a family with values. And so he wasn't willing to make those changes. And so the story was stalled. And if you understand, every day there is a story that they have to bring. And that since it's an online pedestal that he was working with, online newspaper. So what was happening was that every day there would be a story that they would not have. And for someone who is so um, dedicated, this was devastating, to do stories which meant something. And the reason he was doing them was because he wanted to help those people. And it was well thought out. It was something that the management agreed. And then when he came back with it, they wanted it, broken out and done in a different way. And he said, well, that's not the truth. I cannot put it across in that manner. And without going into details, he called me and he said, Mom, I'm going to wait for a month. And this had already been brewing, for a month before that. So he said, I'm going to wait for a month and then I'm going to tender in my resignation. So I just waited and I was silent. And he said, you're not saying anything. I said, son, you will get another job, but we don't get another life. So this is time that you're wasting. And I think you should just tender in your resignation right now. And he's never forgotten that, because, he said that you never looked at the pay packet. You never looked at the fact that I was going to be jobless. But what you looked at was something so much deeper, something that had meaning for me and that would continue to have meaning for me. And Ekta, now he actually works with his spaces like that. He says, okay, he will always call me up and he'll say, like you say, I'm giving so much time to this. So he'll say, okay, this is a story I don't want to give so much time to. So I just smile and I think, yeah, we can say things to them that they will keep, and which can be, which can navigate them through their journeys. Or we can say things to them that are going to actually not be very good for them in their journeys. That is the tricky part of parenting as a whole. That whether we, without a handbook, are we able to steer boats in the right direction? And is that going to work for our children? Okay. And having said that, he's very different from us. He didn't want to be a bureaucrat. He scored a 98% in grade 12 and chose to do arts. And everybody scolded me and said I was a fool because he got admitted everywhere, every engineering college, and he didn't want to be an engineer. He also studied for the law exam and didn't appear. I mean, one of those kids, who has a mind of his own. And I love that. I have always enjoyed that with him. Ekta, we went on a trip, me and him, to Paris, and I let him do it his way. And I said, okay, he just finished his grade 10 exams, and then we went. And I said, okay, what is your way? I want to see what your way is, because our way was to look at everything. And he said, okay, what do you want to see in Paris? And I was like, okay, I need to see the Golden Gate and I need to see the Louvre. I need to see the Louvre. What do you want to see in the Louvre? So I said, well, I want to see the Mona Lisa. He literally dragged me through the museum. We paid a pretty penny, only saw the Mona Lisa. And we walked out because we had to lunch. We had to lunch at a nice place. We had to walk around the streets. We had to, his big dream was to lie underneath the Tower of Pisa and take a picture. So he said, Mom, we just have 24 hours. You're not going through this museum. So Ekta, I think that for me, the journey with him has been of friendship and bonding, which I will value for all my life.
So beautiful, so beautiful. Super. So, I think very, very deeply and clearly you have explained all of us that, how failure is actually an attitude and not an outcome. So there are two questions I have. One is the ritual that we have that I'd like you to give your piece of advice or guidance to all the parents who are watching or who would eventually watch. But before you answer that question, since you run a movement with regards to no more fat kids, I'd like you to touch upon it a little bit, that how parents can work towards making their child healthy in in a environment that we are today, where everything is so gadget driven. We are so technology driven. Whether it is games, like in our times, the way you used to tell your son, go out and play. Every day our father used to just tell us at 4 o'clock, out of the house, go play, run, do whatever you want to do, some physical activity. We didn't have computers and we didn't have those video games to play, but today's generation is so glued on to that they don't want to do any physical activity. So if you could just little bit touch upon that, as to how, what kind of mindset change parents need to make their children fit.
So when I typically meet a parent whose child is overweight, I look at the category, whether it is pre-adolescence or whether the kid is already full-blown adolescent. So full-blown adolescent children, you can do it without the parent on a one-on-one, and keep the parent, as somebody who is on the side. And I do interact with them, but the child doesn't know that I'm interacting with the parent as well. Okay. So but with the pre-adolescent ones, the 8 year, the 7 years, the 8 years, the 9 years, we make small goals for them, and we have small ways of recognizing their effort. Okay, so for instance, if this child wakes up, I will give them a very small thing. I'll say you have to wake up at 7 o'clock and drink 2 glasses of warm water. And once she does it, she lets me know that she's done it. And then I sort of go, we work hand in hand with the parent. And we tell the parent, give them something that is not food. Because you generally tend to appease or tend to appreciate your child with some food item. So I say, either you can take them out for a ride, for a drive, or you can walk with them, or you play something with them. So what happens with that is that there is a little activity that happens for the child, but there's also the bonding that happens between the child and the parent, whether it's the mom or the dad. So we go baby steps, Ekta. We never let the child feel that he or she is obese.
So that
We
they do
never
not
let them
have
feel.
they don't want to do it
No,
at all by feeling
learn,
pressure.
we learn to use very gentle and very, very kind language. So we don't tell them, we don't talk of body shape. I don't talk to my women also of body shape. I never talk to them. But I will tell them, you'll have more energy to do this. You will be able to run 10 kilometers. You will be able to do this. So I find out what it is that they want to do and they're unable to do right now.
Wonderful.
And it works for everybody all the way.
Absolutely.
There are people who
Absolutely.
want to run and are not able to run. So all these things, these small baby steps, and it takes a little while for the child to understand that he or she is losing weight. Then I just fly with them, Ekta, 2 months and they're all back. So
Wonderful.
there's a little exercise, there's nutritious food. Okay, they get to eat their occasional pastas and their pizzas and everything, but they have to always have their nutritive food on the side. So they first finish that and then they eat their pizza or pasta or whatever. So
So they're
that
not
has
being
worked.
deprived yet.
No, they're never deprived. I say don't deprive your children of anything. Just teach them to manage portion sizes, and that's all you need. And that exercise is not something extraneous. It's something you do as a part of your day.
Very true. Very true. It has to be a part of you. Very true. And I think that is why, you are known as the positivity enabler, the change maker, and it's your dream to give back to the society. And I think if the society or the country is fit physically, that leads to also being, healthy and fit mentally, and vice versa. So you work on both aspects, and I think that's wonderful. So now moving on to the second question, or rather the first question that I asked you, that what is your one piece of advice to all the parents who are watching us, listening us? what would you tell them?
I say love your kids as they are. Try to know what it is that they have right now and find that love for that, because whatever you want them to do then becomes so easy.
So beautiful, so simple and nicely conveyed that, just love them, let them be, because they are who they are.
Physical, use words, use physical love, use words, use all the things, that all the areas that you can, to be able to access the love, and express it to them. So I would
Wonderful.
say that is my only advice.
Wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful, talking to you, Lena. So much to learn. And if I could request you to please share the name of the book on the platform also, so that
I
if
would do that.
anybody would like to read it, I definitely want to read that book, because I think that's going to give me answers to a lot of questions that I, as a parent, have to understand. And so please do share the details. And
I will.
there is something more that I'd like to discuss and talk to you, but probably on a different platform with regards to children. So I'm going to reach out to you for that also. So once again, thank you so much for being at the talk show with us. And for all the listeners who are listening to us, this was Leena Prakash, a wellness coach, a fitness coach, and a positivity enabler, who spoke about that how failure is an attitude and not an outcome, and how you should let your child be the unique person that he or she is. And we need to understand what their skills are and what is it that they want, rather than imposing what we want them to do. If that happens, then you build a beautiful bond and a beautiful relationship with your children. And that's how they will always look up to you. And there will always be a flow of communication and learning and unlearning with each other. And that's how every mother so far who has come on the platform has spoken about that. It's very, very important to build that bond, to have that open flow of communication, because then that leads to trust and that strong love and bonding with each other. So thank you so much, Lena. And
Thank
for all of you, we will be back again with yet another unique story, journey of a mother. Till then, please stay tuned. This is Ekta Sehgal Malhotra from the Motherhood Club Talk Show. Thank you so much.